morning, ladies as well as gentlemen. Papa Boris here with some more Hearthstone content, but this time we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm actually going to play Constructed, and I'm going to do this for a couple of reasons. Number one, I heard some feedback. Some folks wanted to see me play Constructed, but number two, when I told my family and friends about this channel, one of the pieces of feedback I got from pretty much everybody was that, hey Boris, that's really cool, but none of your videos make any sense to me because I don't know anything about this game. So this is going to be what I would call a newbie-friendly video. It's not exactly a here's what Hearthstone is kind of a video that we all saw a couple of months ago when the game went into closed beta for the first time. But at the same time, I am going to take some time to pause and explain a few things so that if you have not played Hearthstone before, if you haven't seen any Hearthstone videos, you'll actually be able to follow along. But if you're a veteran and you've been watching Papa Boris for a long time, you'll be able to just, sit back, relax, and enjoy as well. Some of the stuff will be a review for you, of course, but for the most part, you'll just be able to sit back and enjoy. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually build a deck in front of your very eyes. This is not a deck that I designed. I first saw it on Force's gaming channel. He is my favorite YouTube gamer, and he did not design the deck himself either. He actually got it from the Hearthpwn forums. It was designed by a gentleman, or perhaps lady, by the name of MyTech, and it is a free-to-play deck. Now, if you don't know about Hearthstone, unlike other collectible card games, is really cool because you actually get a lot of cards for signing up. So, just by making an account and getting into Hearthstone, you actually get a lot of cards. There's a lot of cards here, and these are just the neutral cards. These are the cards that anybody can play with. You also have to pick one of 9 classes to play as whenever you make a deck, and all the classes have their own class-specific cards, as you can see here. So there's a lot of cards you get just for signing up, and that's just for signing up. You can also buy booster packs, and then that opens up tons more cards, as you can see here. There's lots of cards you can get here for paying money, for paying the in-game currency gold, but you do get a whole bunch of cards for just signing up. And this deck, which I'm going to create, uses nothing but the basic set of cards, and it actually performs quite well. So maybe I'll lose with it because I'm terrible, but it is a pretty high-performing deck. Several people have reported being able to get all the way up to the Masters bracket with it, and there are videos of Force winning games with it in the Masters League. So it's a very, very competent deck. Quite an awe of design, to be perfectly honest. I think it was a very, very nicely made deck, and I have to give mad props to the man who made it. So what I'm going to do is, rather than having the deck already pre-constructed at the beginning of the video, I'm actually going to build it before your eyes. So that way, especially if you're newer to the game, or even if you're a Hearthstone vet, you'll be able to see it all kind of come together and understand how the pieces all interact. So let's go ahead and make a new deck. The first thing that you do when you make a new deck in Hearthstone is pick one of these 9 classes. Now, picking a class does 2 things for you. Number one, it gives you a hero ability. And a hero ability is something that you can play once per turn. It costs 2 mana, and it does something for you. So it's like a free thing that you get for 2 mana without having to spend any cards. The other thing is that each class, as you saw, has their own class-specific cards. And a class-specific card is basically a card that, if you want to put it into your deck, you have to be that class. For this deck, we're going to play as a Paladin, the Righteous Warrior. And his hero ability is that for 2 mana, you summon a 1/1 creature. So he gets to put creatures onto the board just for mana. He does not have to spend any cards to do so. Alright, now let's go ahead and build the deck. So the cornerstone of this deck is a creature called Frostwolf Warlord. This is a 5 mana card that has 4 power and 4 toughness, or as we'll say, a 4/4 for 5. Now normally a 4/4 for 5 is actually kind of lame. In fact, a 4/4 is below average for a 4 mana creature, so for 5 mana, the stats aren't great. But the Frostwolf Warlord has a battle cry, and a battle cry is an effect that happens when you put the creature into play. So the Frostwolf Warlord here gets +1/+1 for each other friendly minion on the battlefield, which goes really nicely with the Paladin's hero ability, which puts minions onto the battlefield for the low price of 2 mana. Granted, you can only do that once per turn, and it does cost 2 mana, but the Paladin has it easier than other classes to make this Frostwolf Warlord scarily huge. So we're going to put him into the deck. Now, to add extra synergy to the deck, we're not just going to rely on the Paladin's hero ability, but we're also going to add all the swarm creatures that we can find. Swarm creatures are creatures that put other creatures into play when they're cast. For example, this Murloc Tidehunter. When you cast it, it also puts a 1/1 creature into play. So later in the game, that's going to make the Frostwolf Warlord bigger if those creatures can survive. So let's put that in. At the 3 mana level, let's put the Razorfen Hunter in. This also summons a 1/1 into play, and it's a 2/3 for 3 himself. And at the 4 mana level, we're also going to add in a Dragonling mechanic. This is a 2/4 for 4 that puts a 2/1 creature into play when you cast it. Okay, so now we've got all these creatures. What else can we do to take advantage of the fact that we have lots and lots of creatures? Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, let's go ahead and add this card. It's a giant card. It's going to be our late game, the Stormwind Champion. He's a 6/6 for 7, which again is not super great stats for the price, but it gives all your other minions +1/+1, including the 1/1 minions that we're putting onto the board with our hero ability. So this guy makes the rest of the team really huge. That's one way to take advantage of the fact that we make lots of creatures. The other way we can take advantage of these creatures that we're going to be summoning is by protecting them, because these creatures that come into play, they're kind of small, so it'd be nice to see if we could protect them. And in Hearthstone, unlike in Magic, quite notably, if that is the CCG you are most familiar with, all creatures can attack all other creatures. There's no blocking phase or any of that nonsense. Everything can just attack whatever it wants. The opponent, other creatures, whatever. So that's the case generally. The way that you make an exception is by putting creatures into the game that have taunt. So like, for example, this Ironfur Grizzly, it's a 3/3 for 3 with taunt. What taunt means is that your opponent, his creatures can only attack this bear. They cannot attack any of your other creatures. If you have multiple taunt creatures in play, your opponent's creatures can choose to attack any of the taunts. But creatures with taunt always have to be attacked first, and they must be taken down before creatures without taunt can be attacked. So we're going to put this Grizzly into play to protect our little friends, trying to make our Frostwolf Warlord bigger. We're also going to put in the Sen'jin Shieldmaster into play. Note that is Shieldmaster, not Shieldmaster. Very significant. This is a very good creature. A 3/5 for 5 is a 3/5 for 4 is a very good body, and he taunts, so he protects all your stuff. And we're also going to add a little bit more late game to our deck with the Lord of the Arena. So a 6/5 for 6, the stats are pretty good, and we're going to get some more taunt here on a really gigantic body. Okay, so what's this deck missing right here? In Hearthstone, you get 30 cards to put into your deck. We've filled up about half of our slots. The main thing that we're missing now is removal. Now, what's really interesting about this game is that all of the neutral cards, that is the cards that can go into any deck, every single one of them is a creature. If you want to cast spells, you better go into your class-specific pool. So here are the Paladin cards. Let's put some removal into our deck. Unfortunately, Paladin actually is like one of the worst classes when it comes to removal. But we're going to do what we can. First of all, we're going to put in this True Silver Champion. Now, True Silver Champion is a weapon. So the way that it works is it actually allows your hero to attack. So like when you play Magic the Gathering, like you're trying to kill your opponent and your opponent's trying to kill you, but each of you is like a summoner / magician. You don't really have a presence in the game. In Hearthstone, your hero, which has 30 life and which needs to be taken down for your opponent to win, is actually like, you know, there, and you can kind of see him and he says stuff and whatever. And if you cast a weapon, you can actually attack directly with your hero using the weapon. The disadvantage to that is that if you hit minions, the minions hit you back. But True Silver Champion's a pretty nice weapon because it actually restores 2 health to your hero when you attack with it, so you can actually gain back some of the life, or even, in net terms, gain life if the minion you're attacking is weak enough when you kill your opponent's creatures. Now, when you cast a weapon, it also has this stat right here, which is the durability. That is how many times you can attack with the weapon before it breaks and goes away. So the True Silver Champion, you can attack twice with it. Yeah, weapons in Hearthstone, not exactly built to last, but still, this is one card that might kill 2 of your opponent's cards, so it's very strong. We're also going to put in Consecration. Consecration is global removal, and that is a very nice thing to have in case you are being overrun. Finally, we're going to add some Blessing of Kings. Now, this isn't exactly removal. It's giving a minion +4/+4, but it really makes one of your minions huge. So you can use it as quasi-removal. You can buff up a minion and then make it gigantic, and then you can kill your opponent's creatures that way because, again, every creature can attack every other creature if there's no taunt in play. And finally, we're going to throw in some Blessings of Might. So Blessing of Might gives a minion +3 attack, so I can throw it down on a little guy, make it 4 power, and then maybe kill some of my opponent's creatures with it. So we're going to throw that in. Okay, now we've still got space in our deck for more cards, so what is it that we're going to put into play? Well, let's go ahead and add a few cards to add some utility to the deck. First of all, let's go ahead and put in the Shattered Sun Cleric. This is nice. It gives a friendly minion +1/+1. So the Shattered Sun Cleric buffs your creatures and makes it more likely that you will be able to survive in trades with your opponent's creatures, or just, you know, kill stuff if they're missing that critical final point of damage. For a similar reason, we're also going to put in this Raid Leader. So the Raid Leader is nice because the Raid Leader buffs all of your minions and makes all of them hit harder than they previously were. And so now we've got 2 cards left in the deck, and to be honest, I don't remember. Oh yes, that's right, we're going to put in Acidic Swampoos. So this is a 3/2 for 2, which is right on par with what you'd expect for a 2-mana creature, plus it has a battle cry, destroy your opponent's weapon. So we were just talking about weapons and how good they are. Well, this Acidic Swamp Ooze is pretty much the only, one of the only creatures in the game that destroys weapons. There's like a legendary card that does it, and then there's like one other really crappy card that does it. If you want to destroy weapons, this is pretty much the only game in town. But if people don't play with many weapons, later you can take this out of your deck and replace it with another creature that might actually do something more. Okay, so this is going to be the deck, and now that I'm looking at it, I realize actually this is a little bit different than the deck that was posted on Hearthpwn. So let me actually make a small change here. This Blessing of Might, let's get rid of that. Let's actually put in the Novice Engineer. So the Novice Engineer is nice. Its battle cries draw a card. Right now we don't have any ways to draw cards in the deck, so this helps us sift through our deck and get the good cards into our hand. And it's pretty nice, it gets buffed by the Raid Leader, and we can put Blessing of Kings on it, and Stormwind Champion buffs it up. So it not only, draws a card and puts a dinky body on the board, but this dinky body might actually be good for something. Okay, so there we go. We've got the deck ready to go. Let's go ahead and give it a name. We'll call this the F2P Paladin, because it is, in fact, free to play. Let's click Done. The name didn't save. The name did not save. Hey. I want this to be named, dang it. There we go, F2P Paladin. Now we are done and ready to go ahead and play. Now, those of you who are veterans, you're going to laugh, but actually, I don't have a ranking. So, I am actually a novice. I've never played in the ranked mode of Constructed, so I honestly have no idea who we're going to be playing against. I don't know if the matchmaker is going to pair me up with someone random to try to test me out and see where I belong, or if they're going to throw me against someone really crappy. Either way, we're going to be playing against some opponent and seeing how this totally free deck performs. As our opponents play cards, I'll also show you what the other cards in the game look like, the ones that aren't just, the basic cards, like the rares and the epics and the legendaries. Maybe we'll see some of those. But it'll be up to our opponents to put those expensive, nifty cards onto the table, not up to us. Alright, we're up against the Mage, Rockgetta the Mage. This is a very strong class, the Mage. What mages can do is they have a hero ability that just deals the damage, and you can deal damage to whatever you want. You can deal damage to a creature, you can deal damage to their opponent, you can even deal damage to yourself or your creatures if you want. And so it's a very, very strong ability. And that's a little bit sad here because we have this Murloc Tidehunter in our opening hand, which has 1 toughness, and so it just kind of dies. Now, the way that mulligan rules work in Hearthstone is actually really cool. The first player starts with 3 cards, and the second player starts with 4, and you can mulligan any of your cards that you want and just draw replacements. So there's no harsh mulliganing rules like there are in Magic. Everything just works, very, very naturally and intuitively. I'll actually go ahead and keep this hand. So we've got our weapon. This thing hits really hard. It'll kill most things my opponent can play. And sure, my opponent will be able to kill off some of the Murloc Tidehunter that I summoned, but that will cost her 2 mana. And remember, hero abilities can only be used once per turn, so she can't go nuts killing my stuff. Okay, my opponent casts a spell. It puts 2 0/2s into play with Taunt, so this is going to take a little bit of work for me to get past. But let's begin the good fight and put our creature into play. This is probably going to die to the hero ability, but that's okay. We'll use this one little Murloc Scout to get to work on the mirror images here. It's kind of nifty. The maps, the game boards change. It's not the same board every time, and you can sometimes interact with the map. Like here, I can start a fire. Aw, yeah. I can poke out this ruby. Do rubies really break when they fall out? That seems like rubies, they're a stone, right? They're going to be a little bit stronger than that. So my opponent's thinking about whether to kill my Murloc Tidehunter, perhaps, or play her own cards. So we'll see what she decides to do in a moment. You can actually, your opponent kind of gives away tells. You can see like what cards she's looking at. Notice how these cards are popping up and down. She's going to play Kobold Geomancer. Okay, so this is a card whose ability is spell damage +1. What that means is that any spell that deals damage deals an extra 1 damage if you play it when you have a Kobold Geomancer in play. Well, there's not much I can do about it, so I will have to, because I have to attack through these taunts first, and I have 2 main options. One option is to play the Raid Leader. That will buff both of these creatures' attack, and I'll be able to kill all the mirror images. That's cool. Another option is I can actually play Shattered Sun Cleric to buff this little guy, and then I can still kill both mirror images, but then I can also buff the health of this thing so it doesn't die to the hero ability later on. We'll go ahead and use the Raid Leader, I think. Well, no, sorry. We'll go ahead and use the Shattered Sun Cleric, because the Raid Leader is a 2/2, so it'll die against the Kobold Geomancer. The Shattered Sun Cleric is a 3/3, so I'm putting a little bit of a bigger presence onto the board here. I'm trying to threaten my opponent. So I'd say we're off to a pretty good start here. My opponent didn't kill this when she had the chance. Now she might have to suffer for it. My opponent's going to play Frostbolt. So she killed my big creature. She's going to use the coin. Now the coin is a card the second player gets. You see what it does? For one turn only, you get an extra mana when you play the coin. So it's kind of like a compensation for the slight disadvantage of going second. Okay, now I have a couple of options here. So one option is I can equip my weapon and I can kill this Geomancer before it becomes a menace. Then I can go ahead and swing with my little scout. Another option is I can actually play the Senjin Shield Master, and then I can use my scout to kill her Geomancer or hit my opponent for 2 damage. I do want this thing to die though, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the Shield Master. The reason is that this way, I am left with a bigger creature on the board than if I had used the weapon, which would have only left me with a 2/2 on the board. So now I've got this nice big body, which I can also buff with the Raid Leader, if I so choose. Alright, so my opponent has 5 cards total. I also have 5 cards total, one of which is my Senjin. Oh no, Polymorph. So Polymorph transforms a minion into a sheep. But this sheep is actually kind of cool. I mean, it is a body. It's a 1/1. So that's kind of nice. Alright, I am 1 mana short of being able to play Lord of the Arena, and there's really nothing to kill with the True Silver Champion. I could hit my opponent with it, but she's at maximum life, so that doesn't seem very, very important. What we're going to do is we're going to play the Raid Leader here to make our sheep into a fighting champion, and we're going to cast Reinforce. This is our hero ability. So, what it does is, notice, puts a 1/1 into play, and it flips over to indicate that you can only use it once per turn. Now, I could have also cast this Acidic Swamp Ooze. However, I figured I might as well hold on to that and get a free creature onto the board. I don't really care that much about the extra damage at this moment. Alright, Mana Worm. It's a creature that gets buffed every time my opponent casts a spell. Here she casts Arcane Intellect to draw 2 cards and make her Mana Worm bigger. Another Mirror Image comes into play, so now the Mana Worm is really big. It's a 3/3, and I'm going to have trouble dealing with that if it gets out of control. Notice the Mana Worm has this white symbol, this white kind of gem under the W. That means it is a common card. So that's a card you get from a booster pack, and it is common, so it's not that hard to get. What we'll do now is we're going to go ahead and we're going to kill off these Mirror Images with our with our units, which are handily being pumped by this Raid Leader. We're going to swing for direct damage with the Raid Leader, and now is the time to play True Silver Champion. So here I'm going to attack the Mana Worm and kill it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and make another recruit. I still don't particularly care about this ooze. The extra damage and the extra health I'm not that bothered by, so we'll just leave it alone. Now, mages have a spell called Flame Strike, and that is a 7-mana spell which deals 4 damage to all of the enemy's minions. So yes, everything would die. But this is a sheep. These guys I didn't have to pay cards for, I just paid mana for. So I don't really mind if they die, but I don't really want this ooze to die. It's an actual card. Okay, my opponent cast a secret. So secrets, they are first of all no fun and they hurt someone, but more importantly, they have some kind of a special effect when a certain thing takes place. So mage secrets can actually do a lot of stuff. They can counter a spell. They can like throw up ice armor, or they can like copy the creature that your opponent just played. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send my brave recruit here to see if there's a secret that triggers upon being attacked. There's not. Okay, so it must be some other variety of secret. If this is a secret called Mirror Entity, I don't want to play my Lord of the Arena, because Lord of the Arena is a really big guy, and Mirror Entity copies the enemy creature that was just played. So what I want to do instead is play this Novice Engineer to draw a card, and if it's Mirror Entity, I don't really care that much. Alright, there's my card. And it was, in fact, Mirror Entity. I'm so damn good at this game. Okay, what we're going to do here is we're actually going to trade our sheep in for this Novice Engineer. The sheep has done its job, and we're going to now play the Senjin Shield Master. And swing. So I want to keep. I didn't want to use my weapon because I want to keep this around for a bigger creature. I didn't want to kill her Novice Engineer with this Raid Leader, although that was tempting, because then it would have put the Raid Leader down to 1 health, and then my opponent could have used this Fire Blast to kill it off. And I don't want this thing to die. I want this thing to stick around on the board and keep on pumping my creatures. So now I have a lot of cards on the screen, because I got some cards for free here, and I got a card from this Novice Engineer. I have 8 cards on the screen, plus a weapon. My opponent only has 5 cards on the screen, and I already have stuff on the board, and she doesn't. So she's in a bit of rough shape here. Alright, she plays a Booty Bay Bodyguard. This creature also has taunts, and she's going to pick off one of my little recruits. Well, let's take a look at the situation. I think now is a proper time to use my weapon, so this weapon hits really hard. So I'm really happy to play it and kill my opponent's creature. Now, I take 5 damage to the face, sure, but I've got a lot of life, so I don't really mind. Okay, well, we haven't seen our Frostwolf Warlord, sadly, or our Stormwind Champion. Those are the cards that buff or benefit from having lots of stuff on the board. That's okay, though. I'm just going to play Lord of the Arena, make another recruit, and let's go ahead and swing at my opponent. So I've got a lot of damage coming through here. My opponent better be careful, or else she's going to be in a heap of trouble. We've actually got already 2, 9, 13, 15, 17 damage on the board, plus more from these consecrations. Oh man, my opponent's going to lose now. Okay, well, what we're going to do here, this is a little bit ugly, for sure, but you know what? If it wins you the game, it wins you the game. We're going to play one consecration. Now that is a global removal spell, so using it when your opponent has only one creature normally is pretty sad, but by using 2 of them, I can kill her taunt and win the game. My opponent concedes before I can do that. Every time you win 3 games, which apparently I just won my 3rd game, you get 10 gold, and you can use gold to buy booster packs or to play in the arena, which is a really fun mode. It's kind of like the Hearthstone equivalent of a draft. So here we go. We got 1/10 of the way to our next booster pack, or a 15th of the way to our next arena run. And that is a look at playing Constructed with Papa Boris using the Paladin free-to-play deck. Now, because this video started out with me building the deck and rambling on and on, I know it's been going on for kind of long, so I'll pause it here, but if you enjoyed the video, do please like and or subscribe, and let me know in the comments if you enjoyed the format where I construct the deck for you, and whether you're okay with the fact that I talk about some mechanics or if you find that irritating. So we'll keep on doing these videos if people are enjoying them. I hope to see you soon for some more constructed play. Till then.